the summer of 2001, I was 21. Instead of going home for vacation before senior year or staying in an empty college town, I decided to go to Orlando, where my boyfriend's family lived. I was at the age where working at Disney World sounded fun. I found a roommate locating service, and they hooked me up with 5 other roommates in a furnished 3-bedroom condo. I applied to Disney World and got a $7 an hour job, working at an employee-only merchandise liquidation center. I was excited. At any rate, this meant my boyfriend and I could hang out all summer. Fun. I got a phone call from Rebecca, the first roommate that had been secured. She informed me that her fiance would be living with us, which I had apprised of, and since they were a couple, they'd be in the master bedroom. I was okay with this. A few weeks before school was over, my boyfriend and I drove down for a weekend to visit, and I met Rebecca for the first time to drop off her deposit. She introduced me to a tiny mewling kitten. "This is Angel," she said excitingly. "Are you allergic to cats? Do you like cats? Do you know if anyone else that would be living with us likes cats as well? Just so you know, here's my kitten I got from a dude on the side of the road 2 days ago." I got the inkling that she didn't really have great common sense. When we all moved in, Rebecca's boyfriend Michael and some random dude were already there, sitting on our couch. I instantly didn't like Michael, and he informed us that random dude would be sleeping over on our couch. I didn't like that either. The next morning we found that this random guy barfed all over the couch and all over the carpet and then mysteriously vanished. Michael made Rebecca clean it while he watched TV. The second night, most everyone went to the hot tub to hang out, but I had a date. While I was getting ready for it, Michael opened my door and walked in. He was surprised to see me and made some excuse about hearing squirrels on the roof or something and then walked out. I hurriedly left, but not before taking my jewelry box with me. When I came home the next day, one of the other roommates intercepted me in the parking lot. "Do not go in there," she hissed. She then dragged me to her car and I got in. From there, she proceeded to tell me that the night before, when she and the other 3 remaining girls had come home, they were met by Rebecca, shrieking hysterically that Michael had killed Angel the kitten. The girls and the neighbor guy they'd met walked in to observe Michael crying and running to get shoes, holding a bundle under his arms, and then the couple ran out screaming at each other to the car. The girls and the neighbor guy walked into the master bedroom to see blood on the wall and bloody towels on the floor of the bathroom. The phone book was open to emergency vets. Freaked out, all 4 of them left and didn't come back until much later. Rebecca and Michael had come home and closed the door. So we drove around aimlessly for a few hours, totally freaked out by this. We returned home about 4 p.m. and can hear giggling in the master bedroom. So the cat was okay, we figured. That night, I opened the trash to find all the cat food and bowls had been thrown away. We called a house meeting over what happened. Michael maintained that the 6-week-old kitten had attacked him, and he simply swatted it away. "There was blood all over the wall, 4 feet from the ground," was a reply from one of the other girls. No response. We said we weren't comfortable with someone who just killed a kitten, and we wanted him to move out. Rebecca snottily defended him, and then reminded us that all 6 had to be in agreement for someone to leave, and neither of them agreed. So we were locked into our lease. A few nights later, we came home to find Rebecca had a black eye. I asked her what happened, and she just walked away without answering. The next day, she'd taken the TV, which was hers, from the living room into the master bedroom. We would wake up at 4 a.m. to the sounds of their drunk laughs in the kitchen, frying eggs, or to them fighting at 6 a.m. A few times Michael wouldn't come home, and then pass through the parking lot as she'd see him and bolt out running after his car in the parking lot as he left again. Once more we noticed bruises. She told us to fuck off and we were evil bitches when we asked. Sensing that we were starting to pry, Michael came out with what I still consider the best failed attempts at manipulation. He walked into the kitchen one morning where we evil bitches stood and feigning distress, proceeding to tell us about a terrible nightmare where he had been justly accused of something and arrested. He was going to school to be a teacher, and arrest would ruin everything. His life would be ruined. Anyway, that was just a dream I had, and I thought I'd share it, and he walked off. I looked at the other girls. He doesn't realize we're not as stupid as Rebecca. The last straw for her was when she went to pick up Michael at his job at the Universal Studios, and he came home while she was waiting on him with the new girl, his co-worker. They were going to a party. He told us he left a note for Rebecca. He changed his shirt and left. When she came home after over an hour of waiting for him in the parking lot, we told her he'd gone to a party in Metro West. She then left and spent the next 3 hours literally driving around the neighborhood and looking for his car. He never came home. The next afternoon, she was packing her shit and alarmed that she would leave us alone with Michael, or that we'd be out 2 paying roommates. We talked her out of leaving. That was when she admitted it. Michael had killed the cat. It wasn't an accident, and she knew it. He'd also choked her out and elbowed her in the face a few times. Now she was angry. Now she wanted revenge. Only because he cheated on her. It didn't matter to us the reason though, and we handed her the phone and she called the cops. A cop came to the house, took her statement, got statements from us, got a description of Michael, and instructed us to call 911 if he showed up again. Sure enough, we got to call the cops on him when he came home a few hours later. His parents started calling the apartment that night, screaming threats of lawsuits at whoever picked up the phone. They were coming down from New York immediately to pick up their precious baby. Rebecca collected his things for pickup and then committed one of the most inspired fuck you acts I'd ever seen. She took his prized blankie that he had since he was a baby, took a cologne she owned that gave him migraines, and soaked the blankie in an entire bottle for a few hours, stuffed it into a plastic bag, and stuffed it in a box with his clothes. We left the stuff out on the curb for his parents. We never saw Michael again. His trial was set for the fall, when we'd all be gone, so I didn't know what would become of him. Rebecca, unfortunately, turned out to be horrible on her own. She immediately got another cat without asking any of us. She started using phone dating lines and would meet her dates at the steakhouse she worked at as a server, get wasted, and bring total strangers home to our apartment, where she'd make them sleep on a couch, again without asking any of us. She started sneaking our food and replacing vodka and orange juice with water. She had her own bathroom, but would still use our bathroom and forget to flush the toilet. And more than once, she stole toilet paper we had bought for our own bathroom, leaving us stranded on a pot. She never cleaned the kitty litter box, which was inside her master bathroom, but we could still smell throughout the apartment. Once she tried and ended up dumping cat shit and granules all over the floor in the kitchen around the garbage can and didn't bother to pick it up. She ran up the phone bill with long-distance calls to her mother and demanded we help her pay for it. The most bewildering thing though was her friendship with what I still believe was a pimp. She suddenly started showing up, being chauffeured by an older man in a Cadillac. He wore a shiny suit with rings on every finger and started buying her gifts. He bought her a fur throw blanket, and she started calling him for help with bills. It was now the end of the summer and everyone else had moved out. It was just going to be me and her for a whole week, which was making my head spin. She started showing me the long distance bill again. She wanted me to pay half of it since everyone had left. She argued I had logged on to AOL, so I had to. One night when she was at work, my boyfriend and I went to the place and spent about 30 minutes literally throwing everything of mine into his car. As a last fuck you, and knowing she wouldn't be home until it was 3 a.m. and super wasted, I went into her master bathroom, which was littered with used yogurt cups, and removed all her toilet paper and then left. Take that, bitch. After college, I was renting a house with 4 other guys, one of which didn't pay rent, and we all paid extra for his share. Why? Because he found the place. Being that the rent was only $350 for each of us, and I got there months after everyone moved in, I didn't really care. The problem with this guy was that he didn't work, would steal all of our food, and would fly into rages over absolutely nothing. One example of his rages: we had our girlfriends over and had rented some movie. Halfway through the movie, he came downstairs and announced to everyone that he had a date and that he needed help. It wasn't a polite question, it sounded more like a demand. We figured he needed to borrow money or something, but no, he wanted one of us to shave his neck. I don't know about anyone else, but I'm not gonna shave someone else's neck. Also, we were in the middle of a movie. What the fuck? When no one answered, he screamed, "What the fuck is wrong with all of you?" I said, "Can you keep it down? We're watching a movie." So he did what any normal person would do. He went into the kitchen and started breaking dishes. He worked out a lot, and we eventually learned that he was on steroids. I'm all for minding my own business and not bothering people with what they happen to or happen not to indulge in. But when you fly into rages and veins in your neck look like they're going to explode while telling people you're going to hack them to bits, then it's everyone's fucking problem. He started buying guns. We didn't know why. We lived in a safe neighborhood where maybe the worst thing that can happen is your car stereo gets stolen. All of us got together and decided that it wasn't safe for a person in this state to have guns. We talked to him about it and said we would all feel better if he got rid of the guns or put them in storage. He said, "Fuck no," and stormed off, and we didn't see him for a couple of days. In that time, I took them to a gun shop and told the owner, "Find a way to disable these, I'll pay you whatever." I think he removed the firing pins or something. I'm not sure because I'm not up on guns. Finally, not long after, I decided that I would happily pay 3 times as much rent for my own place just to not deal with this. I told the guy that I wanted my security deposit back. Or, if he wished, it could be used for my last month's rent. He told me with a straight face, "No can do. I spent it to buy a new hard drive for my computer." That was when I decided that I was going to make his life hell until I moved out. I know he had a very deep and real fear of clowns. I took a small boombox and found a recording of really creepy circus music. I put the music on cassette for 1 minute at a time, spaced 15 minutes apart on both sides of a 90-minute tape. The boombox had continuous play, so once one side was up, it would just continue on the next side. I told my other roommates what I was going to do, and everyone got very excited. While he was out, I put the boombox on the roof, right above his window, turned it up full blast, pressed play, and went back inside. He got home and went straight to bed. About an hour later, he pounded on all of our doors and seemed genuinely freaked out. He said he heard clown music. He said it only happened every so often. We with straight faces asked him if he was high or drunk. He said, No, I really hear it. Everyone come in my room and listen. Please, I'm not making this up." So we all went inside his room, and as soon as we all sat down and music came on, he said, See, I wasn't making it up." And we looked at him and told him we didn't hear anything. Then he got really freaked out, more freaked out than maybe I've ever seen anyone. We all went back to the bed. The quiet of the night was broken up with him yelling, Shut up," over and over. I actually started to feel a little bad, but quickly remembered what a horrible human being he was. Before dawn broke, I quietly went up to the roof and removed the boombox. A couple of months later, I went out to eat with my old roommates, without the psycho and the psycho's ex-girlfriend. She hated him even more than we did, so we let her in on what I've done. She suddenly got this look of seriousness and concern and said, "Chris, I know you didn't know this or anything, but he was molested by a clown when he was a kid. I don't believe in heaven or hell, but if hell exists, I'm pretty sure this prank is a pretty solid strike against me." I walked into the room for the first time freshman year and saw him standing in the middle of the room screaming at his dad. He was yelling about not wanting to go and how he blamed his mom for writing his college essay and filling out the application. His dad kept calling him an ungrateful piece of shit and threatened to beat the shit out of him if he tried to leave. It was right after he finished speaking that they realized I was in the room. They both pretended nothing had happened, shook my hand, and introduced themselves. Luckily, my parents had not walked in with me, so they didn't have to see that and be worried. Eventually, my parents met his as they helped me set up the room and talked about how proud of us they were. My roommate's dad kept saying things like, "It's either college or the street, because I'm not paying them support a failure." My parents, of course, thought he was joking. Every day this kid told me how much he hated school. He would never go to class, drink in the room all day with the door open, and scream at everyone, party all night, and generally just be a dick. He used to watch VH1 every night until 4 a.m. with the volume cranked up so loud you couldn't hear. When I asked him to turn it down because I couldn't hear, he would say he would if I wrestled him. Turns out he was serious. He wanted to wrestle me because of me asking him to turn down that Bret Michaels Rock of Love show. I declined and went to bed. The next day he called his mom to come get him, and she agreed and said she was getting in the car. She never came. He lost his shit. He broke everything he owned, punched a hole through his TV, slammed his Guitar Hero controllers on the ground repeatedly, threw his Xbox out the window, cracked his cell phone in half, ripped his bed sheets. He basically totaled his side of the room. I left the room during all this, assuming he was just blowing off steam and not knowing he was breaking his shit. I walked back into a fucking war zone with him standing in the middle of the room crying, drinking laundry detergent, yelling about how he wanted to die and how he took a whole bottle of Advil after he broke his stuff. I ran to get the resident advisor, and he ran and took the broken glass shards from his computer monitor and started cutting his wrist. The resident advisor and I re-entered the room to this kid throwing up detergent and bleeding. Cops called. They fed him charcoal to prevent him from dying due to detergent/pills. Apparently they do this instead of ipecac syrup or however you say it. He left that night, woke me up to say goodbye. Last thing he said to me, "Goodbye, Jack Quack. Sorry about ruining your birthday." I swear to God this story is 100% true, and so is the part where he tried to bring in a gun to kill me later, but that's a different story.